Houston Texans, Houston Rockets, Houston Dynamo, Houston everything, Houston born and raised, H-Town Rebel Space Cadet Sports.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, folks of all stripes, and distinguished guests, put your hands together for the Space Cadet Sports Podcast. Houston, we have Paul Salazar Jr.
Hey y'all, welcome back to the Space Cadet Sports Podcast, your Houston sports podcast for diehard Houston sports fans from a diehard Houston sports fan. I'm Paul Salazar Jr., your favorite diehard Astros fan podcaster. I'm a comedian, actor, writer, and a creative multi-hyphenate. Of course, I'm a proud Houston native, and I have the receipts to prove it. That's right, I was an inspector at the Kolache factory back in the day. I am a comedy writer, and I've spent the last decade or so doing that in Los Angeles, and now, well, I'm podcasting. That's what happens when you hit 10 years out here. You start absent-mindedly calling it the 10 instead of I-10, and the mayor shows up and gives you a podcast. Welcome to said podcast. You know, Space Cadet Sports was started as a passion project because most media is infuriating as a die-hard long-term fan of the Houston Astros. Here, we aren't doom and gloom casual Houston fans, or worse, the national media haters. We love our teams and root them on, but we also want to try to discuss the ins and outs of them without too much homerism. The key word here, of course, is try. I'd like to welcome returning listeners and welcome new listeners to what my brother calls the Paul Broadpod Ball Blog. Hey brother, check out spacecadetsports.substack.com for the full blog experience, or the full blog experience depending on your interpretation of my pronunciation there. Shout out Arrested Development fans, shout out my brothers. We're recording this transmission here in sunny Los Angeles, where I'm joined as always by my co-host and co-producer, the Ross to my Frasier. Carla, the dog, is here with me. Long-term listeners of the podcast know that she may get on mic from time to time. You know, she's got the hot takes on this podcast. I have the cool takes. You know, on this episode, we are very excited to talk about the Houston Rockets' victory last night. They won 109-94, evening the series 1-1 against the Golden State Warriors in playoff basketball. We're also going to catch up with the Houston Astros, who have been on fire lately. We have a lot to talk about. We're going to try to get into it here. Before we completely get into the podcast, of course, you know I have to wish a good day, mates, to my Australian listeners out there. You know, I hate to brag. If you're new to the podcast, you don't know this yet, but I hate to brag about it. When I first started the podcast, it immediately skyrocketed up the podcast charts, just outside of the top 100 of Australian baseball podcasts. So, of course, we're popular in Australia. I always like to say good day, mates, to the listeners. If you know an Australian, let them know we're out here. Let them know we're trying to boost those Australian numbers. I mean, honestly, if you know a Houston sports fan, they might appreciate it a little bit more. But if they're Australian, if they fit in that Venn diagram, perhaps that will be even better. But let's get to it, folks. No more joking around. No more silliness. Let's talk about your Houston Rockets. It was a tough one on 4/20, nice. On Easter Sunday, the Houston Rockets lost a game to the Golden State Warriors in Game 1 of the first round of the playoffs. Offensively, the Rockets didn't look too good. Obviously, if you've been listening to the podcast, if you've been reading the blog, you know that if you've been watching the games, you don't have to follow me for my quote expert analysis to know that this team can struggle offensively. This team can struggle in half-court offense, and this team can struggle in fourth quarter, the last couple minutes of the game, figuring out who they're giving the ball to, and those aren't exactly recipes for success for playoff basketball. So we've talked in the past about what the Rockets need to do offensively, from my humble perspective, which, obviously I watch games, I read a lot of things, I listen to a lot of podcasts myself, it isn't just my opinion that this team needed to rely on Jalen Green to really kind of figure it out in this playoff series. He's a young man that is in his first playoff series. That first game was not so great for Mr. Green. We also mentioned that we're going to need to rely on Alperen Şengün. Of course, we felt a lot more confident about his offensive game in a half-court series in the playoffs. And we also mentioned that Fred VanVleet would need to step it up. Unfortunately for the Rockets in Game 1, Jalen Green and Fred VanVleet had a tough one. But in Game 2, going into it, Jalen Green was able to go off. Yes, go off, King. Jalen Green, in 35 minutes, was able to score 38 points. He got 4 rebounds, 6 assists, 3 steals, and he was overall 13 and 25 on his field goals, 8 of 18 on his 3 points, 4 of 5 on his free throws for a 69.9 true shooting percentage. Nice. I mean, I've never said nice that strongly. Jalen Green was him in this game. Not only carrying the offensive load, bringing the momentum and keeping the crowd into it, but also shutting down Steph Curry a couple times and causing some jump balls. It was good to see Curry out there frustrated by this defense. I've mentioned that, in the last game of the season, the Rockets playing the Warriors didn't really care for the Rockets' tough defense on Steph Curry. The Warriors fans, who probably have never played basketball in their life, also really didn't like it. They were claiming that it was fouls and egregious defense. I really don't see that. I thought it was tough defense for sure, but the Rockets like to play defense that's right on that edge of getting the refs to call fouls. And I understand how a lot of opposing teams can be frustrated by this type of defense. But if it's allowed within the rules of the game, if the refs are seeing it as just basketball, there's nothing really you can do about it within the realm of the game. I think that tough defense is a part of basketball. Call me crazy, Warriors fans. Tough defense is a part of basketball. And it's crazy that I have to explain this to Warriors fans, because they have the craziest, arguably toughest defender that plays the style that I just described, just finding that line, playing the toughest defense you can without going overboard. However, this player goes overboard almost every single game he is on the court, and that's Draymond Green. I don't understand the hypocrisy. Make it make sense to me. This team that has watched Draymond Green play basketball for the last 50 years, that's what I'm assuming. I'm assuming Draymond Green is an elder statesman. He's been playing basketball for about that long. Now, obviously, they've been watching this man play so long, and they've seen his shenanigans, yet they see tough defense and cry foul. Make it make sense. It really, me and my friends were talking about it. It's nuts to go online and see fans mad, crying about all kinds of things, and about the Rockets and how they're not how they're not, they're an evil team for playing tough defense, and they're an evil team because the Jimmy Butler injury in this game. Amen Thompson took a tough spill. He was there was some pushing, there was some shoving, there was maneuvering. People were saying that Draymond Green pushed Amen Thompson down. I wouldn't go so far as to say that was a push. It looked like there was some boxing out. It looked that there was some physicality. It looks like Draymond Green's hip and legs kind of got in an awkward spot by Amin Thompson, which caused Amin Thompson to lose his balance and fall forward, which then created a domino effect in which Jimmy Butler was hit in his legs. When he was in the air, Jimmy Butler came down really hard. Amin Thompson came down really hard, and Jimmy Butler, unfortunately, he had a pelvic injury and had to be removed for the rest of the game. And this incident caused Warriors fans to claim that Amin Thompson is a dirty player and the Rockets are a dirty team. Calmate, what is wrong with y'all? Steve Kerr said that he didn't see anything unusual on that play. The announcers said that they didn't see anything unusual in that play. The TNT halftime crew said that it was just a quick play. But apparently, y'all know better than all of these experts and ex-basketball players. Obviously, you know the game of basketball better than them because you're saying that this was a dirty play. Y'all are silly. Sit down somewhere, Golden State fans. It really is a bad look. Not only does it not make any sense, but you look like insane hypocrites because Draymond Green is literally out there kicking people in the nuts, body slamming folks, scratching James Harden's eyes out in playoff games. And I've never heard anybody say that on the Warriors side that Draymond Green is a dirty player. All you do is support him and love him and act like he's never done anything wrong. Ridiculous. Make it make sense. Warriors fans. I don't even understand. I really don't. You're so spoiled by victory and success. Y'all should be happier people. I don't understand, y'all. And Draymond Green and I, look, Draymond Green has stomped heads. He is a very passionate player. He has way too much physicality at times. You know, I'm not going to sit here. I don't know his motives sometimes. It looks to me like, to call him even a dirty player is something that I wouldn't even want to do because I think that has connotations and that I don't completely agree with. That means Draymond Green is out here with malice trying to hurt people, and I don't think that's him. I really don't. I think he's a very passionate player. I think he's overly passionate. I think body control comes into it sometimes. He's playing he kind of has like a Napoleon complex in a way. You know, he's not as tall as his height is listed, and he plays bigger guys all the time. So, as somebody who always has a chip on the shoulder and play, sometimes flail around a bit, I'm trying to be nice to Draymond by saying that I don't think calling somebody as a dirty player is exactly a compassionate thing to do. I don't know his motives, but what he is a wild and reckless player that causes a lot of damage on the court when he is hurting people. When he's playing tough defense and kicking people and stomping people and clawing their eyes out, Obviously, there's some plays like clawing people's eyes out that has no place in basketball. But in the moment, sometimes things happen. I'm not trying to be ridiculous here and call him a dirty player because I don't know his motives. However, what I will call Draymond, and look, folks, this is me just trying to give him his credit. I'm not trying to throw a towel at him, but I do want to normalize throwing towels at folks as a sign of disrespect. I want to normalize that. That's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to always have a towel with me, and whenever someone's disrespecting me and getting on my nerves, I'm just going to throw it at them. It's going to be my new move, because apparently that's the worst thing that could happen. Oh, man. There was that one moment during the commercial break that we didn't get to see as an audience, before I give Draymond Green his flowers completely. There was that one moment after the Rockets went on a good run. They cut away the commercial, they came back, and they were assessing what was happening to give people fouls. Draymond Green was in people's chest, really baiting the Rockets, really trying to get the Rockets to get feisty. Everybody kind of held their cool, and to the end, there was a huge spectacle on the court that was instigated by Draymond Green. Draymond was literally having to be pulled away by the Warriors staff because he was trying to get into it with Rockets players. And at the very end of it all, Tari Eason threw a towel Pat Spencer, and he gets called for the foul. Sorry, yeah, I said Tari Eason, I believe. Yeah, I believe that's correct. But anyway, make it make sense. Once again, Draymond Green is over there completely causing a whole circus. He's the clown in the circus, creating the whole circus. He baits the Rockets into getting angry. He acts the craziest, acts the most violent, has to be pulled away from the situation completely. We fling a towel at somebody and that's the foul. That didn't make any damn sense to me. I mean, it really, really didn't. But that's my point here about Draymond Green. Is while, I won't call him a dirty player, I won't say these things, but what he is an irritant. He's really good at being an irritant. And I understand, look, we have Dylan Brooks on our team. Dylan Brooks is our Draymond Green. He is our irritant. He is a guy that can be overly passionate, that can get under people's skins, that you just know that can run into a technical from time to time. That's Draymond Green. But what Draymond Green does better than anybody else, and this is what I will give him. Look, Draymond Green isn't the best three-point player. He isn't the best defender. He isn't the best shooter. He isn't the best at so many things. He isn't the best at listing his accurate height. There's a lot of things that Draymond Green isn't the best at. But what he is the best at is baiting people. And that's what Draymond Green did in this game pretty well. The Rockets didn't fall for it, except for that one moment where, there was some moments where it got close. But you got to credit the Rockets for never truly falling for the Draymond Green antics. Whenever the Rockets were going on a run, it seemed like Draymond Green was there to try to slow down the run with his antics, with getting in people's chests, with slowing down the game and trying to by slowing down the game, by getting the refs involved, by having to assess a situation. And in these situations, you really have to credit the Rockets for not falling for the bait too much. They're going to have to stay emotionally mature to not fall for all of this clown's antics. He is so great at baiting people that I'm going to call it. He's a master baiter. That's what this dude does best. It's his best talent, him baiting people into fouls, baiting people into technicals, baiting people into ejections in some of the biggest games of their lives. You have to give credit to these young men that are playing basketball. They are very emotional. This is where they want to be. This is a childhood dream, and they get there and they're getting baited by the master Draymond Green into committing fouls and slowing down their game and getting ejected for their team. He has done this from time to time. I have mentioned that the Warriors are good at this antics. They're good at these antics, and Draymond Green is the best at it. He is the master baiter. I promise you, anytime you're watching a Warriors playoff basketball game, you can turn that TV on, and I assure you, at multiple points in the game, Draymond Green will be on your screen, master baiting people into taking fouls. It's what he does. It's what he's the best at. And honestly, you got to give him credit, because at this point, he knows it's a part of his game. He knows it gets under people's skin, and he knows how important other players are to their team when you're playing playoff basketball. Knocking a guy in the rotation out of the rotation is big, because then who's going to take that person's minutes? That person is most likely one of the best players in the rotation per the coach, and for the philosophy, or for the brand that the team wants to play. Going into Game 3, one of the keys for the Houston Rockets for the game on Saturday in Golden State, you're no longer the home team, is going to be not falling for Draymond Green's antics, not falling for the master baiter. Don't let him bait you into bad behavior. Remain composed. It's going to be tough because you're going to be in unfriendly territory. The crowd is going to enjoy Draymond's antics. They're going to be cheering him on. They're going to be booing Amen Thompson ridiculously. They're going to be doing all kinds of crazy things to get you emotional. Don't fall for it, Rockets. Don't fall for the antics of the Warriors. Don't fall for the circus. Don't fall for the clowns, and definitely don't fall for the master baiter. Obviously other keys to the game are going to remain the same. Offensive efficiency. We're going to need Alperen Sengun to continue to look like an amazing playoff player that he can be, and we're gonna need we're gonna need Jalen Green, the other Green. We're gonna need Jalen Green to continue to play the way he played in Game 2 with confidence, willing to drive to the basket, taking those step-back threes, playing with absolute confidence. It was really good to see. He's a young player. That first game was a little rough, but hopefully now that he's had some playoff success, he knows that he has it in him, and he can find it within himself to continue to do. Obviously, I said another point. I'm saying it jokingly and with a bunch of silly words, but they need to remain composed as a team. This includes head coach Ime Udoka. They need to remain composed and not fall for any antics, no ejections, no big technicals, no big momentum shifts and swings because of emotion. Just stay steady and stay ready and keep executing. The fouls are going to be tough on this one, I'm afraid. In Game 2, that was a really rough game. In this playoff series so far, it reminds me of like watching my two younger brothers. You just look in the backyard one day and they're both out there just punching each other, just one at a time, just punching each other in the face, and you're just like, whoa, what are they doing? And it's like that's what this playoff series feels like, is that they are just two teams just repeatedly punching each other in the face. It's a physical series. There's been lots of fouls. There's been lots of rough contact and tough plays. I love it. I grew up in the 90s watching 90s basketball. Yeah, I'm an old head. I know it. I'm not one of those guys that's going to sit here and be like, back in my day, everything was tougher and men were men. I'm not that ridiculous. I'm glad that the game isn't quite as tough. That we care about player safety. That's important to me. But I'm just saying, I love a good tough game. These games have been tough. However, I'm afraid, going back to Golden State, the refs might be a little more ready to blow their whistles. It is going to be a wild, raucous environment. Draymond Green is going to be at his master baiting peak. He really is. You're not going to see him bait quite as well as he's going to do in this game. He's going to want to steal the game and not let Houston have a chance. I think that they are going to be blowing a lot of whistles. There's going to be a lot of fouls, and there's going to be a lot of frustration on both sides of the ball, as both teams like to play physical defense. The Rockets can't let this shake them. They have to continue to find ways to play great defense, and Steph Curry might go off, maybe in this game. We need a little more Aaron Holiday. Maybe we have Aaron Holiday. He only played a couple minutes in this game. Obviously, a lot of people played minutes in this game because towards the end, the Rockets were so ahead that Coach Udoka was able to throw, even Reed Shepherd out there. But I'm just saying Aaron Holiday perhaps could be a solve for this team. A little less Fred VanVleet, a little more Aaron Holiday. And I'm not saying platoon it. I'm not saying we bench Fred VanVleet or anything like that. We need Fred VanVleet out there for his ball handling. We need him for his, essentially we need him to be the point guard. So we don't want to bench Fred VanVleet yet. We know he's been shooting poorly. We know it's been tough for Fred, but he's playing 42 minutes. Maybe you could take some of those minutes, a couple of those minutes away, give him to Holiday, give Fred VanVleet a little bit of a rest, get Holiday's defense and shooting out there, maybe a little more Steven Adams, obviously, once again, not like benching Sengun or going double big the whole game or anything, but maybe just slightly altered looks will help this team in Game 3. It's going to be a tough one. It truly, truly is. There's no way the Warriors are not going to be favored in this game by probably the pundits and Vegas. I feel like this is a typical going back home and getting right game for the Warriors. They're probably going to be favored. The Rockets are going to have to play perfect basketball to win this game. They're going to have to be they're going to have to not let their emotions get the better of them. I think they can do it. I truly, truly do. Let me know what you think, Rockets fans. We're very excited. After this break, we'll be right back with some Houston Astros talk. Stay tuned.
Houston Astros, Houston Texans, Houston Rockets, Houston Dynamo, Houston everything, Houston born and raised, H-Town Rebel, Space Cadet Sports.
Welcome back to the Space Cadet Sports Podcast. I'm Paul Salazar Jr. We are back, folks. We got to talk about the Rockets in Block A. We're going to talk a little bit about your Houston Astros here. I do apologize, folks. You all know that I like to do more regular podcasts and posts on spacecadetsports.substack.com. Memes. I went on a trip this weekend for a friend's wedding. I was able to take some time off to go celebrate their nuptials. It was a blast. I got to go to Austin. I ate ridiculously. I might have drank ridiculously. It was a good time had by all. But because of that, I was not able to completely report on your Houston Astros as I regularly do. So we're catching up a little bit on some Astros talk here. We kind of have a lot to get into because of how much time I missed. So this will be a little bit of a briefer talk about the Astros than I normally do because I don't want this podcast to be 5 hours long. But to talk about the Astros, they were able to win a series against the San Diego Padres, which is a series that, if y'all remember, for those of you keeping receipts, I projected that they would lose because of how hot the Padres were, because they just lost a series against St. Louis on the road, and the Astros won Game 1 6-4. They won Game 2 against the Padres 3-2, and they did lose the third game. It was a very competitive series. They lost the third game 2-3, in a game that was fairly winnable if the Astros could have figured out a way to have more offense. In the first game of the series, Cam Smith hit his first multi-home run game of his career. That, Carlos Correa, Yordan Alvarez, Cam Smith. These are now rookies that have multi-home run games for your Houston Astros. That is a short list. Those were the guys who did it last night. I need to look at the stat book to see how many more did it. I'm sure there's more. But those were the last two in recent past that have done it. So if Cam Smith is a prospect on the level of Carlos Correa and Yordan Alvarez, good Lord Almighty, I am excited. We were nervous about Cam Smith a little bit because of his limited sample size in spring training. But as soon as he made the roster, we have been standing Cam Smith here. I have to admit, this weekend, I was wearing my Cam Smith USS Smith hat, my aircraft carrier hat, the one I made in spring training, and the Astros and the Rockets were undefeated when I wear that hat this week. The only day that I didn't wear the hat was for the wedding on 4/20 Easter Sunday, WrestleMania Day, the first day of the Rockets playoffs. There were so many things going on at that wedding. I couldn't watch any of it. It was so lovely though. I was so happy to be there for my friends, but that was the day the Astros lost that game against the Padres. The Rockets lost to the Warriors. So my aircraft carrier USS Smith hat will be worn every game day until the streak is broken. It is my lucky hat now. Cam Smith does look like him. He's still learning out there, Cam Smith. I'm not saying he's not going to have a slump this season, or it's all going to be uphill from here, or all going to be downhill for Cam from here. there's going to be struggles. Just look at Jeremy Pena. He won a World Series MVP. He's been up and down with his offense. He had a tough defensive stretch. That's just baseball, folks. Baseball can be that way. But I like Cam Smith. I like the way he projects. This team had a great series against the Padres. They could have swept the Padres, who were very hot going into the series. They were 15-5. The Padres have very stingy pitching. Honestly, I think that's partially not just because of the pitchers, but because Martin Maldonado is there. That guy is such a game planner and such a field general. It was good to see Martin Maldonado back. Obviously, the Padres have a great offense. They were lacking in a couple of players for injury, but the Astros were able to beat them in a series, and it was so great to see. And to bring it along to the next series, I landed in Los Angeles back on Tuesday, and I had 4 games of baseball to watch and a basketball game to completely watch, because I tell y'all all the time, I'm not one of those casuals. I watch 162 games a season. I watch all this baseball, and because honestly, you don't know from a box score sometimes exactly how a player is doing. A player can go 1 for 5, and it's completely different than another player going 1 for 5 at the plate. One pitcher can pitch 5 innings, and it's completely different than another pitcher pitching 5 innings. Sometimes you have to watch the game to know what the numbers mean and know exactly how a player is doing. My fiance, Sarah, when I got back home and I was like, I got to watch 4 baseball games and I got to watch a baseball game, and there's another baseball game tonight and one tomorrow. She was just like, do you have to watch every game? And I was like, you know it, baby. I got to watch every game. I'm a diehard fan. That's what we do. The people out there in podcast land are depending on me to watch nonstop baseball all day. I did it for y'all. I watched so much baseball on Tuesday. It was fantastic. But getting to the Toronto series, we could talk about that. The Canadian Astros came to Daikin Park. We got to see our good friend George Springer back. We got to see Will Wagner. All of the people doing their hand-wringing about the Yusei Kikuchi trade. It's looking a little more like we did a pretty damn good trade there, or I should say Dana Brown. I'm giving me credit for it. Sometimes I I give myself credit for what the team does, but Dana Brown executing that amazing trade and all of us getting worried about it. It really looks like that was a pretty decent trade going forward. We'll have to see how time will go. But on Monday, the Astros beat the Toronto Blue Jays, the Canadian Astros, 7-0, folks. They were looking great. Hunter Brown is dominant. Hunter Brown is him. While Framber Valdez has had a little bit of struggle this season. He struggled in that third game against the Padres on ESPN a bit. That not completely, but just at times. Framber Valdez has struggled, but he has been fighting admirably through his struggles and has been such a competitive pitcher. And before I get to Diesel here in this game, I just have to mention, it's so good to see Framber like this. He is locked in. He is ready. Framber had been prone to getting emotional and letting the game get away from him sometimes when he's on the mound. He has been really locked in this season with his struggles, which of course you don't want to see a player struggle. But when you see a player like Framber Valdez struggle and able to shake it off a little bit and able to keep competing, that is a great sign. I know Framber might not be playing like an ace truly right now, but the fact that he's still competing is such a good sign for these Houston Astros. And Hunter Brown not only is competing out there, but he does show ace stuff right now. Joe Espada is saying that he's a leader in the locker room, that Hunter Brown, Big Diesel, is out there dominating and competing. He now has 24 innings of scoreless baseball on the mound this season, which is now getting up in the ranks of in the leaderboards for Houston Astros all time of how many scoreless innings, consecutive scoreless innings you've pitched. I believe Christian Javier is right above him right now. We also have Brian Abreu in that scoreless streak and runless streak. So, if he could have another game, another dominant inning, another dominant outing, I should say, Hunter Brown can continue this scoreless inning streak. But he really had to work for it in this game. And that's another thing that you have to be happy about to see from the Astros pitching staff. They are really not unraveling. Even, Ronald Blanco, to an extent, that has had a really tough season. These starting pitchers are really not unraveling and letting the moment get the better of them for the most part. This 7-0 game for the Houston Astros was such a joy to watch. They were 5 for 11 with runners in scoring position in this game. That's something I always am talking about the last couple seasons, how the Astros are doing with runners in scoring position. 5 for 11. That's how you win that's how you win a game 7-0. In this game as well, the 7-0 game, it was the Zach DeZenzo game. Zach DeZenzo was 2 for 3 with an RBI, a walk, and honestly, he is making a name for himself out there. He's been looking good. He started in first for the Astros in this game, giving Christian Walker a little bit of a reset, which is needed from time to time. And Walker actually came back in the next game. Kind of recovered a bit from that reset. In the next game, the Astros won 5-1 against the Blue Jays. Walker was 3 for 3 with an RBI, really looking solid. He has been dropped down. Christian Walker is no longer the fourth batter in the lineup. He's not batting cleanup. He lost that spot to Jeremy Pena right now, who Jeremy Pena has been great. In this game that I'm talking about, where the Astros won 5-1, Jeremy Pena was 3 for 4 with an RBI. Even Alvarez, Jordan in this game, who has definitely struggled, has had a lot of struggles this season. It was 1 for 4. Yainer Diaz in this game was 1 for 4. Isaac Paredes hit his 4th home run to lead the Astros right now in homers. It was great for a little bit that Cam Smith was able to technically be the team leader in home runs as a tied for first with 3 home runs there. But Isaac Paredes in this game launched another dinger. He now has 4 on the season. The team was 3 for 10 in this game. Not quite as great as the last game, but definitely good enough. And in this game, Ronald Blanco was able to bounce back from his tough start this season. He got a quality start, pitching 6 2/3 of an inning, with giving up just 2 hits, 1 earned run, 2 walks. We're always looking for low walks from him. Just 3 strikeouts. He did give up a home run, but just kind of slowly working his way back to being the competitive starting pitcher that we know he can be. Brian King came in here again, once again, pitching the 7th inning. He didn't have to work very long or hard, but he picked up his 6th hold of the year. Abreu and Hader came in to help shut the door on this game as well. Brian King totally has completely taken over that 7th inning position. You love to see it. Another shout out I completely forgot in the previous day's game, the Hunter Brown game. Hunter, went 7 runless innings there with 9 strikeouts and only 1 walk. But that game was closed out by Forrest Whitley. That's right, folks. He does exist. Forrest Whitley continues to not give up a run in his career. He pitched 2 innings, got 2 strikeouts, and gave up 0 runs. This Houston Astros bullpen is slowly starting to come together too, folks. This Astros pitching is really good. We're just looking for their offense to continue to find a way to execute. In the 3rd game of the series, the Astros were able to complete the sweep against the Toronto Blue Jays, winning 3-1, getting some early offense there. making it a little easier to turn on the Rockets pregame on the main screen and leave the Astros on the iPad there. The Astros had a great game, a great outing by Ryan Gusto. Sorry, Ryan. Me gusta Gusto. You know, I definitely am not trying to to rename him. It's just the way I read it sometimes. I do apologize. Ryan Gusto did it again. I apologize. I truly do. It's just a brain fart. It's not me trying to be disrespectful, I swear. Ryan Gusto, there we go. Think about it. Americanize yourself when you say it, Paul. Pitched 5 2/3 of an inning. He gave up 3 hits with just 1 earned run, only 1 walk, and 6 strikeouts. Look, you know, we're watching Lance McCullers Jr. carefully. He will most likely, the team has to decide soon if Lance McCullers Jr. is ready to pitch or if he's going to stay on the IL. Either way, Gusto, me gusta. This guy really is competing. He looks like, the Astros get this guy from time to time, like a J.P. France or a Spencer Arrighetti. Just some starting pitcher that not a lot of teams had on their radar. And he just shows up and he just eats in the back end of the rotation there. I really love to see it. In this game, Joe Espada was able to roll out his preferred back end of the rotation, sending Brian King up there in the 6th inning to get a 1-pitch out. And Brian King was able to go back in the 7th to get goose eggs all around, but to get out of the 7th inning, picking up his 7th hold of the season. Then Abreu came out, got a strikeout in the 8th, was able to get his 8th hold of the season, and Josh Hader closed out the game getting the 7th save and 2 strikeouts in this game, the pitching matchups going Joe Espada's way completely. Let's see. This is so looking at the offense for the Astros, Carla is barking chuffing a little bit in here. She actually is growling at my stomach, which is growling after this podcast. I'll definitely have to get some comida, but but Carla was growling at my stomach, growling. So apologies for those of you listening at home. And wondering how many dogs I have. That one of them is my stomach, because I guess I just got that dog in me. In this game, we got some offense once again from Zach DeZenzo. Zach DeZenzo played right field in this game, was 3 for 4 with an RBI. Zach DeZenzo is hitting .318 on the season with a .784 OPS in a limited sample size. Chazzy Fizz actually got to play this game. He was starting in center. He was 1 for 2. I bring that up because we're talking about Zach DeZenzo. We're talking about Cam Smith. We're trying to find all this playing time for people, and Chas McCormick is truly the odd man out here. But you really have to give credit to Chaz. He leads the league in bunts right now, at least as of the recording of this podcast. That could change today. But Chaz McCormick goes out there and lays down some sack bunts. He has not been complaining. He has been out there. He's now 30 years old. He's not a prospect anymore. He's making way for prospects. And, he's going out there when his number is called, which has been very limited, because Joe Espada has so many mouths to feed, and now there's a huge logjam in the outfield. But when Chaz McCormick's number has been called, he's risen to the occasion and does what the team needs him to do. And I just admire that. I hope that the Astros can find some play for him, or if nothing else, can find a trade for him so that he can get some playing time. Unless he enjoys this role. I really don't know what his priorities are for his career. But we love Chaz McCormick. We appreciate what he's done for the team in the past. But we also appreciate what he's doing for the team presently, which is making room for some young players and keeping the vibes good and playing selflessly when it's his time to play. Besides DeZenzo, this was a game that, another roster note here, Cam Smith was sitting in this game because he's played so many consecutive games. It was time for the young man to take a sit and take a bit of a rest. Let's see, Christian Walker had a big game, going 2 for 4 with an RBI, picking up a home run getting his 150th home run of the season, good lord, of his career, his third home run of the season, getting a nice Crawford box homer there, helping the Astros put this game away. Yainer Diaz also was 2 for 4, which was really good to see. Yainer has really been struggling. Jordan picked up a hit. Pena Paredes picked up a hit. I've been talking about how the heart of this lineup really needs to start doing better for this team to play well, to win, play well. Of course, they need to play better to play well. That's ridiculous. I'm being John Madden over here. But what I'm saying is the heart of the offense, the heart of the lineup, when they are not slugging, when they are not executing, it really makes the job that much harder for the rest of the Astros lineup, which, a lot of experts have been saying is not quite as good as the lineup with Bregman and Tucker. They don't have the pop that we're used to. So the struggles of the Astros this season offensively really can be pointed out by two men. And I love these guys, and I mentioned before that I think they're going to be fine. It's just been a really slow start, and unfortunately we need slugging from Yordan Alvarez and Christian Walker. And when they're not providing slugging, the rest of the lineup really struggles. When Christian Walker is struggling, Yordan Alvarez isn't protected. In this third game, Paredes and Pena hit behind Alvarez. And, Yordan doesn't like hitting second in the lineup. But I feel like they're moving him up because he needs some protection, and Walker wasn't providing that protection. Now that Walker's hitting a bit, now that it looks like Pena is finding some consistency, it looks like we have a little bit more protection for Yordan. Maybe Paredes will go back to hitting second. I am unsure. But, I really think that once this heart of the lineup figures it out, with some hitting from Smith, with some hitting from DeZenzo too, and for the love of God, if Yainer Diaz can figure it out and start getting some more hits, that would be great too. We need the heart of this lineup to continue to slug. It looks like the offense is figuring it out. The defense and the pitching is looking great. Even the people worried about Altuve and left. I think he has like 1 out above average right now. I mean, not an amazing number, but the season has just started. There's not a lot of flashy numbers out there, but we have some great defense in the outfield. We have some stellar defense in the infield. Isaac Paredes and Christian Walker are looking great. Jeremy Pena looks like he's not he doesn't have the yips. I really am excited about where this team is headed right now. Last April, so many fans were wringing our hands. We were worried if they were going to turn it around in May. We were worried if they were going to turn it around in June, folks. So the Astros are performing better than they did last season. You love to see it. It provides me with the confidence when I said this team was going to, win the division. When this team, we don't need to worry about this team. It makes me feel happy to know that this offense was as I projected it, not to be too worried about. We need to find some space for Zach DeZenzo in this offense, perhaps. And maybe not an everyday starter, but we need to be able to mix him in. Zach DeZenzo, we're going to start calling him the T1000 because I'm out there on Blue Sky. I forgot who, oh my goodness, the Shields account made a joke that Zach DeZenzo looks like the bad cop from Terminator 2. So we're going to call Zach DeZenzo the T1000 from now on. We're hoping to see him get more play. We're hoping to see, more platoon situations to get DeZenzo in there a little more. He can play first. He can play some infield. He can play some outfield. We're hoping for a little more DeZenzo while he is hot. See what this young man can bring. Another thing that might help with that, or another thing, while I was saying Chas McCormick, might be the odd man out. Another reason Chas might be the odd man out. Chandler Rome reported that Cam Smith was taking reps in center field. Now, we don't know if Cam Smith is learning center field or if he was just taking some fly balls out there, but Cam Smith is just a natural athlete. I mean, he has looked really good in right. There's sometimes he overcommits on a play, or he isn't quite doesn't take the most efficient route at times, but his natural athleticism makes up for a lot of his inexperience out there, and he looks really good. And honestly, I could see how this guy could be a center fielder. If he just learns how to take some routes a little better and works on some of that. Center field can be a wild position. I think it'll take more coaching to get Cam ready for that for a game. But I love the idea of Cam being a little more versatile. Maybe you can just spell Myers late in the game in center when you need some offense, and you bring DeZenzo in as a pinch hitter. Or, I don't know if he's going to be starting anytime soon, but I do love this conceptually. I mean, if Cam Smith is taking well to right field and you think he's ready for it, keep going. We were worried about throwing Cam Smith into the deep end, but he has responded very well. He looks like a professional hitter. He is patient. He is confident. Cam Smith looks like he is truly him. I don't mind them trying him in center to see if he can be more versatile and bring the team more flexibility. I think going forward, I did want to talk a little bit about Yainer Diaz and his defense, and kind of why we've been worried about Yainer a bit. But I think I'm going to finish this off by just saying, I think, the guy here that I'm the most worried about for sure is Chas McCormick, not because I think he's playing poorly or anything, but just because he is truly the odd man out on this roster. I said that I thought that Chas could even potentially be traded by the trade deadline. But I mean, if he's not playing there, he might not be able to get too many people to be interested in him to be have a great return of value there. But we will see. I think we love McCormick here. He is a big boy in our eyes. I would give him some banana pudding. If y'all remember that, Dusty Baker said he wasn't a big boy yet. But he would buy Chas McCormick some banana pudding on days that he was a big boy. So, I love me some Chas McCormick. I think he's a lot of fun. I'm not saying this with any glee or to be cruel, but I just think at the way the roster shakes out right now, he truly is the odd man out, so we'll have to watch closely to see what the Astros do to bring him into the mix or to get him some playing time, or if it's mostly going to be, some Dubon and DeZenzo spelling in the outfield, and that kind of eats up to McCormick's time. We'll see. Going forward, the Astros are going to play Kansas City on the road starting tomorrow, starting on Friday, and going over the weekend, and then they're back home for a spell against Detroit before they hit the road next weekend again. Folks, with that being said, that is going to do it for this transmission, Space Cadets. Thank you so much for listening to the podcast. We are a small podcast, and we definitely appreciate all the love that we get from you cadets. Please like, rate, review, subscribe, share, bop it, kick it, skip it, smash all of those buttons for me. We only go as far as our listenership takes us. We are supported by listeners like you, so please share with a Houston fan or an Australian in your life and give us a 5-star rating wherever you listen to this podcast. Please check out the Substack. I know that I've been on vacation this past weekend, but we're going to have more content on the Substack going forward. I'm hoping to do a series preview for the Astros where we could talk a little bit about stats. Maybe we'll talk about Yainer there. We're going to do some memes for the Rockets. Go check out the Substack at spacecadetsports.substack.com. Where you get the full blog experience there. You can put your email in and get every post, every podcast, and every meme dump emailed you for free right now. I don't have anything behind the paywall. Every now and then I'll do a little shout out video behind paywall for the subscribers, but for most content is going to be available for free just for that email there on Substack, or you can download the Substack app, search Space Cadet Sports, click that you want notifications instead of emails. You get the full mobile app like I do. I enjoy that better than the email subscription. If you like that instead, reach out on social media. at spacecadetsports.bsky.social. We're really enjoying Blue Sky. You can follow us during the game sometimes on there. When we're watching the game, we post there. You can follow on Instagram and Threads at Space Cadet Sports. Call in. Let me know what you feel. Let me know how you're feeling about the Rockets Game 3, how you're feeling about the Astros offense. Let me know. You can call in at speakpipe.com/Space Cadet Sports. Leave me a voicemail. Let me know your take, or you can comment on the Substack or social media. Definitely let me know how you're feeling out there, H-Town. Thank you so much. If you like me and you're like me and you need more weird jokes, you can find me making jokes, memes, art, podcasts, and more at Paul Salazar Jr. On all social media at paulsalazarjr.bsky.social. paulsalazarjr.net, because I'm nothing but net. You can find all my Substack, my merch. You can get a Cam Smith aircraft carrier hat yourself there. I have that actually available on the website if you want some merch. You can find all the silly things that I do, all my nonsense on the Substack if you're nasty. Thanks for listening. Remember to be the best that you can be. Keep your head up, kid. And as always, vamos Houston.